Welcome to my independent research project for biology. This is a presentation brought to you by Mira. I apologize in advance if my voice sounds squeaky, or if I sound tired or make frequent stops. Feel free to pause the video if you want. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is a shortened form of two words, biological and diversity. The word biological relates to biology or living organisms, while diversity relates to the state of being diverse or containing a variety. The root bio means life, and biodiversity refers to the variety of life that can be found on Earth, as well as to the communities that they form and the habitats in which they live. Biodiversity can be found all around us, in biomes, ecosystems, habitats, or even in your backyard. So with this in mind, we can conclude that the word biodiversity simply means the variety of all living organisms throughout the world or in a given area. Why is biodiversity so important? Biodiversity is a key indicator of the health of an ecosystem, and it works to provide many vital functions for both humans and animals. In animals, a few of these functions involve soil fertilization, nutrient recycling, erosion control, and pest and disease regulation. Biodiversity also supports humans in their societal needs. These necessities include food and nutrition, security, energy, fresh water, and the development of medicines and pharmaceuticals. All of these can ensure good health and aid well-being. In short, we rely on nature to provide us with food, shelter, clean water, medicine, etc. So without biodiversity, our entire support system for humans, animals, and environmental life would essentially collapse. How does biodiversity benefit from the desert ecosystem? Biodiversity can benefit from just about any ecosystem, but the ecosystem that we'll be taking a closer look at is a desert. Generally, biodiversity is low in hot desert ecosystems because fewer species are supported there due to its extreme climate and level of aridity. However, biodiversity will increase closer to desert water sources such as seasonal rivers and lakes and near to an oasis. High temperatures, low rainfall, and lack of water make it exceedingly difficult for species to survive, but these dry conditions are suitable for xerophytes, plants that need very little water. Xerophytes adapt themselves to desert climates through their thick, waxy cuticles, and the loss of leaves to reduce water loss through transpiration. Unfortunately, human activity is the greatest threat to biodiversity in hot deserts. What are keystone species? Keystone species are species whose presence and role within an ecosystem has a disproportionate effect on other organisms within the system. A keystone species is often a dominant predator whose removal allows a prey population to explode and often decreases overall diversity. In other words, a keystone species is an organism that helps define an entire ecosystem. Without its keystone species, an ecosystem would be dramatically different or cease to exist altogether. The ecosystem would be forced to radically change, allowing new and possibly invasive species to populate the habitat. The removal of a species will thus allow the thriving of the prey population, which in turn decreases the biodiversity of the ecosystem and vice versa. What's an example of a keystone species that benefit from the desert ecosystem? The desert tortoise, one of the most elusive inhabitants of the desert, is a prime example of a keystone species that live in the desert and benefits from it. This particular species of tortoise is classified as a keystone species because it digs burrows that other animals rely on, and helps to shape the desert ecosystem as a whole. The desert tortoise uses burrows for protection from the harsh desert weather conditions and protection from predators. As a desert adaptation, the tortoises will store water in their bladders for months, and their skin and shell are waterproof. Not only do desert tortoises benefit from the desert itself, but the desert benefits from them. To help the environment, these tortoises will make rain basins to collect water. They remember where the water sources are, and return to drink that water. These abilities help them because the desert is a dry place where water is often very scarce. How do humans benefit from having a biodiverse ecosystem? Food, energy, shelter, and medicine are all basic needs that humans obtain from biodiversity. Ecosystems provide humans with critical services such as pollination, seed dispersal, climate regulation, water purification, nutrient cycling, and control of agricultural pests. Humans, who are exposed, benefit from having a functional ecosystem that supplies oxygen, clean air and water, and everything listed above. But who or what provides them with these things? The answer is biodiversity. Biodiversity boosts ecosystem productivity. This means that a biodiverse ecosystem will enhance the production of resources that humans and animals very much rely on. Biodiversity loss, on the other hand, does not benefit humans. It can have significant direct human health impacts if ecosystem services are no longer adequate to meet their social needs. What is the human carrying capacity of the desert? What is an example of a human population that has collapsed? The carrying capacity of something is the total number of organisms that a particular environment can support or carry. Carrying capacity is different for every ecosystem, and for each population found in an ecosystem. For example, deserts have a low carrying capacity for most plants because deserts do not have a lot of water. Deserts also have a low carrying capacity for animals because of their hot, arid conditions. However, animals in this biome will oftentimes adapt to their surroundings via distinct ways or processes. The same can be said for humans. They can adapt to the desert, though not always survive. Because humans, and any other form of life, need so much water, surviving in deserts is very difficult. One example of people who live in the desert is the Bedouin tribe. Their traditional lifestyle has adapted to these extremely arid conditions, and their nomadic lifestyle means they do not settle in one area for long. Although they aren't necessarily a collapsed human population, they still prove it is possible for humans to adapt to the desert. Pollution has impacted other ecosystems, but how has it impacted the desert's plants and animals? Pollution has impacted just about every ecosystem. However, plastic pollution is a separate problem. You might have heard of plastic being a problem in ocean ecosystems, but have you ever considered it being one in the desert? Plastic can travel for hundreds of miles, and once they arise in the desert, these bits and pieces of plastic are easily mistaken for food by animals like camels in environments that offer little nourishment. The plastic waste can accumulate over time in the stomachs of desert-bound animals, causing blockages as a result. Here are some fun facts and statistics about biodiversity. They are listed here on this last slide, and you can read them if you want. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I'll see you next time.